Well, good evening, everyone. Hey, it's Shooter. It's May 5th, 2024. Of course, we're going to take a look at swing trade notes. Of course, at the end of our presentation, please do review our disclosures. Now, we basically kept the same stance, when I look at this as last week. I think we're short-term bullish. I think this is a, dead cat bounce. However, breadth Friday, of course, improved, and the advancing declining stocks also improved. So it may be a little bit longer. We could push quite a little bit here, maybe 52.40 as far as the S&P, but I think we find some rejection up there. So, we have quite a few things that, obviously the FOMC meeting, inflation reading was, still a pressure on markets. Near-term rates, doesn't look like we're going to get a rate cut, at least in the next two meetings. I would think later on in the fall, there might be a likelihood for that. Well, jobs, actually showed some mixed numbers. We're drying up a little bit. The volume is not there where we're increasing the way that we were before this. Yet earnings have exceeded expectation. So unless we have a catastrophe in earnings, I think we continue to push through most of the earnings, and then maybe we have a little back test about that point. So, earnings outcome, I had some good numbers. Blocks surged, DraftKings, really put some huge numbers out there as far as revenue surge, and increased their guidance. Cloudflare, basically dumped with disappointing revenue outlook, so bad guidance. GameStop rose about 70%, making it the largest gain since November. Expedia revised its outlook downward, so we saw a little bit of pressure on that, and their efforts to revitalize Vibro progress slower than anticipated. Now, Avis stock skyrocketed, really jumped due to strong demand and improved pricing. So, we're seeing that mixed bag, I think, on the consumer side. It looks to me like we're shifting towards vacations. And Wendy's, ironically showed some success, whereas other food chains are a little weighted. Now, this week, we've got some nice players this week. If you look at the picks that we had, I was very selective unless I saw the counts that were favorable. I like Palantir, but the count didn't support taking it long. I also like Uber, but the count didn't support taking it long. I also like ARM, but the count didn't suggest to take it long, and as well Affirm. Now, Roblox was a mixed bag for me when I was looking at the chart. Then just jumping back, Crocs also caught my attention. But let's start off by taking a look at the dollar. Now, we had a significant drawdown, and it also was followed through by a rally in the indices. So what we do here, I think, is important. Was this a one-off event, or are we going to continue pushing down towards that 96 and the rally is going to continue? So that's going to be a big factor here, what we do. At the moment, my bias is that we head lower, and that continues to support indices. Now, when we look at TLT, there's a reason to enter and start a position here, but you have to realize that if this ends up being a third drive, okay? In other words, drive one, drive two. So drive three would be down there about 76, 77. You just got to structure your trade to do so. But I do like leaps here. I like January 25, 100s. Or you can even go out and do July next year, which is probably more realistic for 100. But, we really need additional tapering. In other words, they're going to reduce the taper more, or the suggestion that a rate cut is coming, I think, for us to really move here. That's just my 2 cents on TLT. Now, we also have a bear case, where, this could break down to about that 82. I kept that in swing trade notes. So, of course, take a look at that, recognize where we're at. I've got our vulture price down at $70. So obviously we get down there, back the truck up. Now, this week, we're going to bring in Home Depot. It's a little early, but I like the count. I like the look going into earnings. Earnings is May 14th, so next week. Now, I like the May 17, 350 calls for $497 a contract. And the other reason is the spread on the 355s and 360s, 365s were horrible. One of them was 50%. I'm not paying a 50% premium. But what that also supports is that a majority of the people betting on Home Depot believe it's going to beat earnings. So that just helped with my bias in that direction. So the swing target is 361.95. Whereas we have a B target of 370. So this is, a corrective leg. So we got our A, which is a little extended. Sometimes we get a shallow B in that. So be conscious about that once we get over above about 353. If we start wanning or, get some more red in here. One thing I didn't like here is how it doesn't or wasn't squeezing with green candles. So there were many, many more sellers here than there were buyers. So, we got that gap to fill. I think that's the first thing that we need to get past for us to get back up to that 361, which, once it gets into the gap, I think we're good. So just keep that in mind. All right. Next pick this week was Shop. Earnings are May 8th. And honestly, I just like the look. I like the push that we came into last week with. I like the breadth up here. Swing target is a little shallower. We went to 50% back at 79.78. Earnings are May 8th. So I believe, what is that? Wednesday. I like the May 17 $80 calls for 262 a contract. Now, I'm probably not going to carry that into earnings. I'm probably just going to trim it, going into that. And I may keep on a few contracts. But at this point, I was a little disappointed with Coin and, a number of other names that I was watching that we didn't pan out. What, some of the trade desk, little different beast here. I mean, we're heading back towards our breakout line. Swing target is just above. It's about $10 up at 98.83. Earnings are May 8th. I don't know that we get up there, but when we get a breakout, if we get about 50% back of that move, so we get $5, I would be trimming into earnings. I wouldn't necessarily think about holding this one either. May 17, 95 calls for 305 a contract. Now, obviously, those prices that I'm quoting were prices that I pulled as of Friday. So obviously, Monday's open, they might change. But I like the overall look. I didn't like how broad it took for, this flat that we've been in. We rejected price here. So if we see any price rejection after we get above there, just close it out. I wouldn't sit there very long if it doesn't move on the breakout. I want it to get up and above, the 61.8, with some oomph. We want some volume coming in there, some buyers to come in there. We want to see it. So if that doesn't occur, then I would take it off the table, wait and see what earnings give us. And maybe we re-enter at that point if earnings is good. Because we have a good earnings, we should get a good rally off of this base if the market chases it. So there's a little different perspective on that. Well, that's what we have for this week, folks. Of course, great trading. We'll see you next time. Make sure you like and share the video for us on Facebook so we get a little more traffic. So obviously it justifies continuing doing this. But other than that, you guys have a great week. We'll see you next time.